Three, two, one.
今夜もミュージック君へのラッキートレイ笑い合って抱き合って幸せにほらなれるように
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of EWB. It is I, Craftsdwarf.
And me, WattheWut, apparently.
So, if you're here, you also know that we just released our Hidamari Sketch Backlog episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, in celebration, we're doing a video that I kind of got me mad a little bit when I first watched it, and still is one I think about where it's like, man, there's a reason I don't watch AnyTube anymore.
Well, it's also a video you referenced in a video by yours called There's Blackface in Love Lab, and it's about
No, that was a Monogatari video. Or no,
Oh,
did I
okay,
mention
yeah.
the kid? I maybe...
You did,
no,
you-
actually, I did. I alluded to it very briefly, but I talked more about the Monogatari video also by Under the Scope. So yeah, this is actually the first time we're doing a video on a bigger YouTuber.
Spoilers,
which
it's on
is
Under the
interesting.
Scope.
Yeah, no, well, yeah. And I think it's also interesting because this is a video where, like, unlike the last three that we've done, this is a video where with the fundamental point it's trying to get across, we ultimately agree with it, because it's basically saying, like, cute girls anime are good. What's your favorite anime of all time? What? Love Live. What's my favorite anime of all time? Hidamari Sketch. You know, we also like, you know, we both really like K-On, and I also like Love Live, and there's a ton of cute girl shows in our top anime, so it's something we obviously are going to agree with. Why are we talking about this video? Because I think it's just really awful at getting that point across.
Well, there's also a subtitle to this video.
Yeah, that's part of part of it.
If you look at this video, it has for his usual uploads, UTS, it's got quite the ratio considering like the rest of his other videos, and there might be a reason for that. Now, you might think that like it's because of like he's got the whole point. The title is "Cute Girls Anime is Good and Feminist," and the second part obviously might raise some eyebrows. To me, it doesn't. It's just kind of like it's just a non-point to have. But you know, what's important here is that title aside, what he's trying to get across aside, the content of the video is the problem. Not even for like the whole thing, which is really interesting. I've rewatched.
Yeah, this is definitely the best video we've talked about on EWB, because like a fair chunk of the video just isn't bad at all. Like, you know, it's fine.
It's actually like making good points. It's actually spitting straight facts for like a good 50% of the video. But then like halfway through, things go awry. Correct.
And there's some like at the start there is some sort of like build up to the drop off basically, but it drops off fast and hard.
It's kind of scary, actually. Now, Craftsdwarf here hasn't really seen much of UTS. However,
Sadly, I've only seen this video and the Monogatari one, so my like perspective on Under the Scope is pretty much exclusively not very good videos where he talks about Shaft anime badly.
I was a fan of UTS since like I believe he started in like 2015, 2016. I used to cite him as one of the best AniTubers on the platform because he created, like, to be honest, some pretty good videos. His K-On content in general is typically very good. It's just lately his it's sort of, in my opinion, dropped off a bit. And I think this video will be an indication as to why.
So, okay, gotcha. I think I see where you're going with that point. Even though
Yeah.
I've only seen the two videos that I would assume are part of that drop off, and
Yeah.
for very specific reasons.
Yeah.
Hint: it's in the title.
Look, I don't... Look, here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of politics in this video. I'm going to be transparent. I don't care about politics. I don't like talking about politics because I don't care about it. But I recognize the idea that all media on some level is political and will hold the political ideals of the people who create it. That's fine. I can see where you can highlight the point, like highlight this point. My thing is just if you're going to insert politics where there really isn't grounds for that's a problem.
And I guess from my perspective is like, I generally don't care for politics, but specifically when it comes to like art and expression, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, this deserves to be spoken for, especially, you know, like that, my perfect character video being an example, right? So that's basically about as far as I care, honestly. So, and this video is about the relationship between art and a political stance, and so of course, you know, that this is, you know, we're gonna go in as well as you'll see. So
to clarify, these are his words that he's using, not ours. We are not alt-right MAGA hat wearing bigots. Was that the word he used?
Yeah, no, I like, if you want to, yeah, I kind of get angry when I think about that, you know, aspect of like what's going on politically right now. So I definitely don't align with that. I'm
not that.
But you're just, what is it? You're trans transphobic foot fetish MHA
at this
fan.
point, I'm on all sides of the spectrum, every single spectrum apparently. So we're just gonna, well, to best get across this video and what is wrong with it, we first have to figure out what is good. Unfortunately, the intro is sort of like hinting at what happens later on, so I guess we'll just jump right in.
Yep.
You ready, Craftsdwarf?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Cute girls doing cute things is one of the most diverse, relatable, and even progressive genres of anime, given the right hands. That take hot enough for you?
So, he begins this video proclaiming that cute girls anime being good and diverse is a hot take. Now,
yeah,
this depends on what circle of anime you find yourself in, because as of post 2015 or whenever Digibro made K-On A Thesis, cute girls anime has sort of become like far more respected than anything else in AniTube or in the anime community, as far as I'm aware. Because lately, all I ever see people talk about is the cute girl stuff, or mentioning or memeing it. People will talk about it. They'll like, we have shows like Sorayori Motoi Basho, like being one of the most popular shows of a season. You know, K-On is of course the one that everybody's perspective shifted on, notably around the time when Digibro made his K-On Loving Thesis series. The only people that I've found lately that look at cute girls anime and like freak out for some reason are people who mainly only watch shonen, which are people who are already like not like in the medium too deep.
Yeah, and shonen is like, you know, the way, like you said it, like, oh, Slice of Life is one of the most well spoken about ones, where shonen it's super popular, but because of that, it's the fast junk food of anime. Like it's dismissed and disregarded a whole lot. So I like, because like what was one of the most popular shows of the year so far, or most talked about, Eizouken, show about girls, you know, cute girls in a club doing things like. Girls Last Tour, it was last year. Also, you know, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, relaxed. You know, it even comes up in this video. So it's like, I'm sure they exist. Like there was a viral tweet a little while ago about how like, oh, how do people like rank like Slice of Life, or like does the grocery store arc hit different or something like that. But so
those people mainly only watch like shonen though. So
yeah, well, this person is like trying to like divide all stories into story arcs, and that's a very shonen, like, you know, I come from shonen where I'm used to that kind of mindset. So it's like, yeah, I don't know who else is doing that aside from shonen, like you said, shonen fans who are very new to it. There is one other
person who's doing it.
Oh well, he doesn't deserve to be mentioned.
Yeah, he's, you know, so unless you're making this video you're making this video as an argument to two people. One of them is old and Greek and is too set in his own ways to really care about anything you're gonna say. The other one are people
isn't gonna watch this video.
Isn't gonna watch this video from the get go, because they only watch videos about power scaling and chapter reviews. Like, that's not me being like mean and like that's literally just what they'll watch. I talk to people who only watch like shonen series, and they will only watch like, you know, power scaling videos or like memes, right? They're not the kind of people who will watch a video with a picture of a K-On girl on it or a Hidamari Sketch girl. Like,
yeah, and the kind of people like my server obviously has a lot of shonen fans because the people who attach themselves to my content, especially like One Piece, but a lot of them also like you'll and speak positive about like K-On or Hidamari Sketch or Love Live or not it's not as broad, but it's like a few of them have latched onto one of these series and happen to really like it. So it's like, or Precure is another one that makes the round. So it's like, even though it's more of an action thing, it's still about girls. So it's like. Right. It's, at least in the circles I've seen, like, I basically don't see the people who don't like slice of life or, are fine, at least, tolerant of it on some level, basically.
Here's a fun little statistic for you as well. Anime Expo 2020, it was 2020. No, 2019. Anime Expo 2019. You would literally walk every other step and see what kind of fan Craftsdwarf.
Love Live.
Love Live. And I talked to a bunch of Love Live fans, and guess what Love Live fans also are, more often than not? More often than not, they're what we would describe as normies.
Yeah.
Love Live is... I literally ran into someone, me walking to the Aqua concert 2018. I hung out with this dude all day, and he's told me that he doesn't even really watch anime that much. He just got into Love Live, and Love Live was like one of his first anime. So like,
that's kind of interesting to think where Love Live is big enough somehow that it fills this niche that also like MHA is filling, which is now I think about it, that's weird.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point, though. Is like,
that's where we're at, though. Is what you're saying, basically.
We're not living in that bubble of 2015 where seeing a K-On girl makes you go ill, icky, gross. Love Live is one of the more popular shows in existence right now. We don't live in that world anymore.
So yeah, I guess to finish my thoughts on this subject is that, like, I'm not going to say it doesn't need to be said that cute girls anime is good, but ultimately, like, yeah, he's preaching to the choir. Like, he's talking to his audience who, like, he's probably already made videos on shows in this type. Like you said, he does a lot of K-On stuff, which has a lot of cute girl stuff. There's there's visuals of it, right, throughout the video. So I think the fact that it's so bad at getting across its points really just, like, there's a reason we're talking about this video specifically.
It gets good, like, immediately after this. It's just that intro is foreboding for the rest of it.
Yeah, so all right, let's move on.
In truth, it shouldn't come as a surprise from me. I've been described as a moe apologist. If you've watched my other videos before, I'm sure you've already heard me proselytize about the magic of the mundane. No need to repeat myself here. Few genres, as much as you can call it that, polarize people like cute girls doing cute things. It's not just you love it or you hate it. There's a vocal group of fans across the spectrum who decry its existence as cancerous to the medium itself. With people dismissing it wholesale, oftentimes on flimsy pretenses, I find it important to highlight what makes cute girls anime so appealing to so many, and little exemplifies that better than Hidamari Sketch. It's cute, it's wide, it's...
Yeah, the people who decry its existence are, again, people either outside of the anime fandom as a whole, or like people who only watch shonen. Like, I haven't seen anybody really talk down to slice of life since, like, I don't even remember.
Well, now I'm thinking about it, like, when we were at Anime Expo, like, during the Gigak and Anime Man thing, they were asked about, like, their favorite cute girls thing, and Gigak almost didn't have an answer because he's like, none of them. But he's like, oh, what about cute girls doing amazing things? Sorayori. So at least, so there's that. And then I do remember there was a season a while back, I forget which one, but it's like, there were people saying about how there was nothing good airing, but then the counterpoint was like, well, there's a lot of good stuff if you like the cute girl slice of life stuff. So I'm not going to say it's gone, but it's definitely much less pronounced. Like, I do feel like, I don't know.
It's very small.
He could just be in communities that we're not in, too, like, to give him the benefit of the doubt, Yeah.
Like, there are people like Mood on TV making videos about, but he generalizes it as the slice of life genre, not cute girls doing cute things. So he's also putting shows like Working, or, shows like that under that label. So it's not just cute girls doing cute things. So even then, that sect of people also just don't, like, I'm actually, to correct myself, people who talk about who are like against cute girls doing cute things are just kind of against the slice of life genre as a whole, because they just don't get why people would watch a show about people doing mundane things. And again, slice of life isn't just cute girls and cute things. They're also talking about stories like, it's like they'll throw shows like I've even seen like some like a show that's like people will say Oregairu is like a deconstruction of. I've seen people say. Is what I mean. So it's like people kind of throw a slice of life under this umbrella term, meaning that like it's a show where nothing happens. And some people in AniTube I've seen like accept that, but there are also like people like Giguk, who was one of the first people talking shit about K-On, and so Digibro made his video. So like I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say like, yeah, the distinctions are, you know, like I've seen debate about slice of life anime, and then he does even bring in some different types. Like he talks about Iyashi K or Nichijou K. Like he doesn't elaborate on those definitions for people who aren't aware of the distinctions, but he brings them up, which is at least something.
Actually, that's actually a good point. We'll get to that when he does it, because that's actually interesting that you brought that up.
Hidamari Sketch is both the quintessential Shaft and Cute Girls show. The hallmarks forming the studio's unique identity are all here, from the deformed expressions to the inventive way it uses space.
Space!
Several of these techniques we've come to recognize as pure Shaft double as valuable time savers to meet their demanding schedule. It inserts real-life objects in place of animated ones, the backgrounds lack almost any detail, we see no other characters besides the ones we care about, it uses abstract elements to represent physical movement. Add it all up, and this may not look like your typical Cute Girls anime. In addition to helping the production staff, scrape by, the style goes a long way towards keeping the series visually engaging. Important, given Hida Sketch is as mundane as it gets. On their face, the events of any given episode are remarkably ordinary.
Exactly! That's the problem!
I hear you say. But before you file this one away as uninterested, dear viewer, ordinary does not mean boring. Truth be told, the voice acting alone should take care of that. As is the norm with Shaft works, the VA talent on display here is incredible. Especially Kaori Mizuhashi as Miyako and Miyu Matsuki as Yoshinoya sensei, who tragically passed away in 2015. The eccentric teacher, one of her best roles. There's a fine line between Cute Girls anime that works and those that don't, which may be hard to pick up on just by looking at them. Yes, they're all extremely fua-fua, perhaps overbearingly so to many of you. But the great ones are not just cute girls being dumb. They have a sense of place, be it the interactions between them, their experience with their world, or a bond that gradually fills in over time. This combination of reflection, atmosphere, and belonging makes it special. Like a lot of slice of life, these works are about the journey over the destination. It's not exactly headed anywhere. Rather, the focus is on soaking in the time spent together, with these characters, with this world. These stories aren't exhilarating or otherworldly. They're human. Because that's what our lives are more often about. Friendships that just sorta happen. Conversations that appear out of nowhere. Part of what makes K-On's graduation arc so emotionally resonant is because you've spent all that time becoming a part of this group. Just as the girls' time with each other is at its end, so too is yours with them. In Hidamari Sketch, each episode is one day of 1 year in the lives of its central quartet, beginning with Yuno's alarm clock and ending with her nightly routine. On top of that, the episodes are completely out of order chronologically, jumping back and forth across this calendar year like Haruhi goes through arcs. Rather than devolve into an incoherent mess, though, it emphasizes that the moment-to-moment change these girls go through is minimal. Much like you or me, they're not so different in October as February. However, when it's all over and you take these moments as one, you see the arc, the journey they've gone through together. And even though they're still in the same apartment, surrounded by the same people, looking back on it, it feels like they've come a long way after all.
Again, most of this is fine. In fact, it's almost in line with like his usual analysis, actually.
Yeah. Some of it I've noticed with stuff I said. Like I like how it does have this great presentation when what's happening is super mundane, and there were some weird things that were said, like the way that he kind of talks about things. Like he's not actively throwing other things under the bus, but I don't know. Some of the wording maybe kind of like raised an eyebrow, so to speak. Like some of the things he says are, oh, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. That's like a big thing in Hunter x Hunter. Or like, oh, the time you spend with the characters makes you feel more attached to them. And that applies a lot to shonen series. But then there were other lines he said.
Well, one thing I want to say is that if this video's goal is to convince people, because he labels it as a hot take and is therefore trying to reach an audience that is going to disagree with him or try to debate his point, he uses words that are like inherent or references things that are inherent to people, things that only he and his audience would understand. Like, for example, he says these girls are fua, which, again, if you're a K-On fan, you know exactly what fua means, right? He also references K-On as, like, another example. But, like...
Yeah, he's referencing the story of K-On and, like, oh, it's graduation. It's, like... But if you haven't watched K-On or even any slice of life anime, you wouldn't know how significant... Like, for, you know... for me, I remember Pedantic Romantic did a video a while ago, like, why is there so much high school anime, where she talked about how, like, high school is different in Japan and why it's kind of, like, so important to them as this, like, shared experience. And part of that was, like, the graduation, the transience of things, like, this time in their life that they can't get back. And that's something that if you only watch or read, like, shonen that or action stuff, and then you're not going to know that. So he's, like... He's writing for an imaginary audience that has both seen his content and doesn't like slice of life, even though he's made content on slice of life stuff. Which, even
though the people who like slice of life and watch his content are one circle instead of a Venn diagram.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm insinuating, because it's like, yeah, he which is part of the reason, like. If he's preaching to the choir, then the choir is going to listen. But it's the fact that this is framed as not as talking outside of his audience that makes the way the examples he uses, the wordings he uses, kind of like it's not efficient, because like it's I don't see how someone who only knows that thing would understand what he's talking about.
It's serving counter to his proposed goal, basically. It's a weird way, because otherwise, if he took out the statement at the beginning and what he's trying to do with this video is a perfectly fine analysis of Hidamari Sketch. He nails the thematic elements of it perfectly and why it appeals to people and why it's a good show. Like, good work. But then, like, you remember that this video's goal is to convince other people of what it's about by, like, using terminology and referencing things that the people who disagree with you wouldn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So what part is sus to you?
Real quick about the Hidamari Sketch, because there was one thing about how, like, oh, the characters don't change that much. I would argue that there's, like, little small bits, like, maybe it's more emphasized to me because I've seen so much of the show, but I've definitely felt like, you know, Yunochi seems more childish in episodes that take place earlier than later ones, or that aspect of her is emphasized. Or in an episode I literally just watched today in season 3, half of the episode actually takes place in the previous school year when Hiro and Sai were first years. And so obviously Underscope wouldn't know this because he's at this point of it, he's only seen season 1. But Hiro is sleeping with a stuffed animal, which she doesn't do in the actual series. So like it's like a small little thing that sort of shows like, yeah, she's a little bit younger and more childish than the person that she's grown up into by the actual start of the season. And like I definitely feel like I probably have to check my notes, but I definitely feel like there's little moments like that, even with just Yuno, especially Yuno, probably because she's probably like one of the characters where her maturity or immaturity is most pronounced. But so it's like I still, that doesn't necessarily invalidate what he's saying, but it's telling
him that he only watched season 1.
Right? Yeah, right. Because like I think, you know, as we said on the backlog episode, or I said, it's like I've only appreciated Hidamari Sketch more as I've watched it more. Now especially now I'm on my 4th watch through, and I'm just enjoying it. But okay, yeah, I think maybe what I had an issue was with the the fine line between the ones that work and the ones that don't, and then I don't know. I guess I don't really find his explanation
He sort of skims
like
by
it's so
everything.
It's so vague, and like I said, like some of the things he says that's positive about slice of life is so like it's everywhere. Like again, shonen series also have like time you spend with the characters and less about the journey. With Hidamari Sketch, like what is the destination? Like really, like Yeah, it's like a character-driven story rather than a plot-driven story, which what I mean by that is like, I researched it, and really the only notable difference I could find is that like a plot-driven one has external antagonists, where a character-driven one doesn't. It like Yuno is her own antagonist. She's her own like problem, basically, you know. I don't know. So just I don't know, things like that. This just maybe like, are they, you know, a killer to the argument? No, but it's just like,
It's just
I
strange
don't know,
wording.
maybe it's just strange wording and stuff.
Cute Girls anime doesn't get enough credit for its versatility, particularly among its detractors. The same style that offers atmospheric works like Aria also has pure comedies in Lucky Star, more philosophical stuff like Girls Last Tour, workplace slice of life like New Game, and all sorts of stories and backdrops. Most blur the lines between them, like Sound of the Sky or Non Non Biori. Hidamari Sketch also feels like an amalgam of these varieties. While the strength of the show lies in its character interactions, it definitely has that Iyashikei healing element. At the same time, the series has a clear Nichijou-kei or everyday emphasis. It savors in their small joys together, their worries and fears, their individuality. It doesn't use its relatability as a crutch, a shortcut to making the characters seem fully realized without actually doing so. No, while they have their tropes, you have a strong sense for who they are as people, how that informs their dynamic with one another. That is what separates the good from the bad here. All that being said, with maybe the exception of ecchi and fan service shows, few genres receive the same blowback as cute girls doing cute things.
So, an interesting thing that I'm only noticing now is that he sort of, in his attempt to show that Hidamari Sketch has a lot going on to it, he then like kind of boils down these other series into like one thing that they do. Like pure comedies in Lucky Star, workplace slice of life like New Game, you know, he like denotes them to these like one attributes that they do.
You're right, because like what does workplace slice of life mean? Does that mean New Game is the same as working, which is the same as servant deck service, or I guess it's just called servant service? Like, that's just a kind of setting. So like where like at least when he says like there, you know, everyday Nichijou-kei versus Yashikei, like everyday life and healing, like. Aria, I guess, Aria is always weird to me because it's like, it's not really, it's like mundane things in a not mundane world. Like the setting isn't mundane at all. It's like a sci-fi fantasy setting. Even though like the characters are just like undines, they're basically like, you know, what is the word? The Italian porters, you know, I can't remember what they're called with the boats in Venice. But like. And yeah, some like Sorno Woto Non Biori blur lines, but he doesn't explain what lines they blur.
He just kind of like says them, right? It's like if I were here saying that like there's a variety of shonen. There's fantasy shonen, there's battle shonen, there's martial arts shonen, and then in those examples I use like shows that have multiple elements, but then I refer to two others and say these two blurred the lines, but I don't tell you which lines they blur. And it's just sort of, it's a very weird way to view it.
He's like trying to like, you know, I feel like almost he's maybe like trying to sit like, look, I know things, and I'm sure he does know things, but he's not getting across what he knows clearly enough for me to know what he knows, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Cause like, he's just being too vague and non-specific. And,
it's a weird impasse because the video's goal is to convince people who are not into this type of show, and thus by not being into it, they would not know these things. So Iyashikei and Naroke and, you know, Nichijou-kei.
He briefly mentions like the English equivalents, but like, what is healing? Like, you know, he doesn't describe what a healing show, like what mood it's supposed to impart. Like, I know what it is obviously because I've watched that kind of show. I love that kind of show. I would like, that's how I got into Hidamari Sketch, was watching it after work. And so I'd be tired and in my bed about to go to sleep, and I would heal a little bit from Hidamari Sketch and its relaxing atmosphere. Like, I know what the healing is because I've been healed, but basically.
Like, that's kind of weird.
He just says like, healing, and he doesn't explain how does the show do this. Like
I could watch Gurren Lagann after a sad day, and then I see Simon be a badass, and that heals my heart pretty well. So it's like, it's kind of like...
So it's not specific enough to like... to explain what the difference between Gurren Lagann and Hidamari Sketch is, you know? Because like I can't say that Gurren Lagann healing my heart makes it a like a Iyashikei, because that's obviously not. But I wouldn't know that. Where I could
based off
say
of
like part of the reason I didn't like season 3 at first was because the ending was really high energy, like, and you watch the first 2 seasons, like the endings are really like low in energy and chill, and like that's the part where I'd fall asleep because it's just this really relaxing song, and it's like perfect to end off this episode of relaxing things, you know, which obviously Gurren Lagann doesn't have. That's just one example.
Yeah. And if you're saying Nichijou which is everyday things, technically speaking, the events of Naruto are their everyday lives.
Right, that's where like Arya kind of like makes me stumble, or even like Mushishi, where it's like in Mushishi, as a Mushishi, he does unusual things even in that setting, but the pace is still very like slow and atmospheric, and sometimes horror at times, admittedly, but it's definitely like there is still like I'm not sure if I describe it as healing, but it's definitely like it's meant to set a tone. Where of course, like I said with Arya, it's like it's everyday like it's the same thing with Naruto, where it's like it's Nichijou in the context of their lives. Like so is Space Brothers, but like is becoming an astronaut really mundane? Like you're doing one of the most high like skill jobs on the planet. Like so is Space Brothers Nichijou like and so like I'll admit I haven't really looked up these definitions, so some little nuances like that's why I'm asking these questions, because they're unclear to me. But I don't know, like, but now you're bringing them up, or he's bringing them up, and I still don't know. Isn't now my issue?
He's bringing them up in the context of a video that's meant to convince people who don't know what these terms are. But then he also has that bit where he like flashes by all of the other slice of life shows and like talks about the one thing that they do, even though that one thing isn't all that encompasses them. Like New Game isn't just a workplace slice of life.
Yeah, now I'm wondering, what's Sorayori? Like, it's not Nichijou, it's not workplace slice of life, it's not Iyashike.
I mean, in the context of their thing, like, those amazing things they do become their everyday by the halfway point of Sorayori Motoi Basho. Like, if we're going to be pedantic with definitions, but that's the point. He hasn't given us a so for example, in my isekai video, I say the four types of isekai that I was aware of. It was like Tensei, it was Tensei, it was reincarnation, transportation, and then the spiritual one. But I'm like blanking on it right now because I'm like 5 brain cells
and
right
Joe
now.
Does have a video going more into like he specifically uses examples that aren't isekai to explain. Like Dungeon K is another one with like which you have like game mechanics and stuff.
But I made that video specifically for people who, even if they are not aware of isekai, that I would like explain, so I went and like explain to my best ability what shows have fallen underneath this category and like why they fell underneath that category.
Yeah. So like the best I can say, well maybe best is not the right word, but it's like speaking as someone like trying to put my shoes into someone who doesn't watch slice of life anime at all, doesn't know these terms. Like the only thing I can see using these terms accomplishing is making me think that he knows what he's talking about and is smart without having the thing actually explained to me and understanding anything. So I know nothing more but except that he's smart, basically.
But trust me, as someone who like for a long time was against slice of life anime, using those words ain't convincing me of anything.
Sad.
Yeah, because spoiler alert, I was one of those shonen meatheads
that I didn't know. That's because that brings it interesting, because I like with my experiences, like I was into shonen. If I was against anything, it was romance, and that was because of Twilight and me being a stupid high schooler. But when I got into anime, like I watched Hidamari Sketch the first year, and I was super like open to exploring different things. Like I watched Upat, I watched Yuri Yuri. I didn't particularly like them, but I watched them. So it's like until Hidamari Sketch, that's the one that really got me into it. But I wasn't dismissive of it beforehand. But you were, apparently, so I didn't actually know that.
I watched Love Live as a joke.
Oh, and then you...
that should be enough context, right? And then I watched K-On thinking I was going to watch it and be like, haha, this sucks, nothing's happening. But then I cried by the end. So it's like, you're not convincing me of anything.
You're crying,
by using
man,
these
this
words.
is a funny joke.
It's a pretty funny joke, man. That's like, but that's what it is, right? It's like, I ain't convincing nobody with these big words. So like, what goal is he trying to prove? Because if his goal is to convince the people who don't know anything about slice of life, then he's failing at that. If his goal is to show his knowledge, people who do understand these shows are going to see him running by the generalizations of what these other slice of life shows are and go, make us go, huh? That's not entirely correct.
Yeah, like so far the best part of the video has been the description of Hidamari, the analysis, like, look into Hidamari's sketch, which was pretty, solid, and some weird stuff aside. But now looking back, I'm thinking like, yeah, but is that going to convince someone? Because that sort of accomplishes the same thing, where it's like it makes him look smart, and is that going to convince someone who doesn't like slice of life to watch slice of life? Is that it's like smart? I don't think that's the case.
No.
So
let's continue.
Like that, and this is where like I guess I'll talk about it now, but I think like it especially becomes apparent later in the video. But with this video is another common AniTube mistake, and this is one that I made on my first Hidamari sketch video. Is you want to talk about something, but you want to catch the algorithm or do something catchy, so you don't just talk about the thing. You want to talk about more things to get more attention and more like. And so you end up talking about things that maybe you shouldn't have talked about. So in the case of my Hidamari sketch video, I was like, oh yeah, Akiyuki Shinbo, he's the man behind all of Shaft, because I didn't know that like what he's actually done in the studio is like a point of contention. So like I'm attributing things in the show that weren't necessarily to him, when I really just wanted to like analyze the scene in the first episode of season 2 that's really good. So like, and in this video, it's like if he just wanted to talk about like how Hidamari's sketch was good, then he like at this point he's already accomplished that, but he hasn't. He's doing more. Like it's like, okay, stop. You already know. And like he I'm wondering if I can't like discern his motives just from watching the video. Yeah, but there is that desire to like grow as an AniTuber, get more subscriptions so you can have more reach. So it's like I understand the desire to like try and make your content bigger than it is. But I also think you should know what you're talking about when you do, and like, or know how to, or in this case, like, I'm not like I'd argue he does seem like he knows what he's talking about regarding slice of life. He's just bad. Like in this case, when I say like he doesn't know what he's doing, it's more for like the argumentative stance, because he like there's other problems with what he's arguing later in the video, where he's like arguing against like now like 3 different perspectives, and it's like he's trying to do a lot. This video is 8.5 minutes long, basically.
Yeah.
Like there's even at this point, like, could he have gone more into Hidamari's sketch? Probably. Could he have gone more into like the slice of life things he's talking about? Absolutely. That's what we've been talking about. And then we're not even. I'd argue we're not even at the main point of the video, basically. Because the main purpose of the video is in the second half. So we're almost there though.
These shows are always subject to the ire of the same warmongering meatheads who whine every season about the hordes of moe blobs come to pillage their crops. Forehead veins bulging at the mere sight of this cute girl holding her photorealistic cabbage. By all means, it's fine if you don't like cute girls anime. That's not an uncommon opinion to have. But if your first reaction at the thought of something you dislike existing is to bitch and moan online, maybe you should check yourself. I, for example, could say the latest Edgefest you fawn over is just as vapid and off-putting as the last. Of course, I'm not going to say that, but I could.
You just did say that.
Oh boy.
Like, you can't say like, I'm not going to say this thing, while you're also saying this thing, having a very clear, like, fitting visual example of the thing you're saying.
Like, the reason why I know this is his actual thoughts is because I saw him ranting about it on Twitter when it happened, when Goblin Slayer was out. He was with the other group of people complaining about Goblin Slayer being an Edgefest and it being bad. So that's how I know.
You don't see him complaining about these things, but you do see him complaining about this. And so there's another thing he said, like, again, there's the part that I'll still mention the part later, but I want to point out something he's done in this video. He painted a picture of the people who don't like slice of life as like forehead vein bulging, like seething, mad about there being cute girl anime existing, and it's like, it's fine not to like things. Is it though? Are you gonna say that? Like, can you really say both things? Like, it's fine not to like things, but like, I don't. He's painting a picture of the people who disagree with him very vividly.
Craftsdwarf, here's the thing: it's fine not to like things, right? But you're wrong. To prove this, I'm going to say why this thing sucks.
Yeah, he's doing what he's accusing people who disagree with him of, or like, and while also painting this picture that like is either gonna make like piss off the people who it does match and alienate the people who's like don't match with it but still kind of agree, and neither of those people, and again, those people aren't by and large aren't watching this video because this video isn't like really marketed or targeted towards them, and it's for like this video again, it's preaching to the choir, which is I think what like part of why I disagree with it, because like I can like, yeah, I'm part of the choir, but I also recognize that this is bullshit and this isn't how you argue a point. You don't insult the people you're trying to convince of what you're trying to say.
So let me paint you a picture of what's happening right now. So this video is based off of the premise that a group of individuals are throwing a genre that this man, Jackson here, really likes. Jack UTS really likes the slice of life genre, and it does not like that people are throwing it under the bus. So to prove this, he then proceeds to throw Goblin Slayer under the bus. Because it's wrong when you throw slice of life under the bus, but not for the sake of my point. Now here's the thing about that. If I were to make a video talking about why I don't like when people throw Love Live under the bus, if I then respond in that video, be like, yeah, you know, we have garbage like K-On that's disgusting and, you know, has terrible characters, but it's fine if you like that. Like, what? Like, I don't...
No, yeah, you, why would you do something that's so obviously like inflammatory when like it's unfitting. So and there was a little aside there where he's like I guess he's just pointing out that ecchi and fan service things get a lot of blowback. He's also part of that blowback, and I think for reasons that we'll discuss later, I think they're fine to exist. And you know, like I've done my pervert characters video.
Well, what happens in a bit is a little
we're getting there.
Yeah, you guys feel the drop off? I'm feeling the drop off.
Oh yeah, no, we're in free fall, my friend.
And it only keeps going downhill from here.
So if you're someone who just can't jive with the happy fun times of a Hidamari sketch, here is Jack UTS's 3-step guide to navigating a world where girls are cute in anime. 1. Calm the fuck down. 2. Watch something else. 3. Refer to step 1.
So the man just said, fuck you, don't watch Goblin Slayer, and also fuck you.
Yeah, here's another thing, right? He said, if you don't like my thing that is obviously good and better than what you like, here's a tip. Go fuck yourself. It's like... What is the goal of this
I haven't
video?
even touched Goblin Slayer. I heard the manga. All I know is that the manga's better.
Oh yeah, the manga's way better.
But like, yeah, that's just so dismissive and like again, inflammatory. Like, why would you say this? Like,
so I know why. Because this video is painting an imaginary boogeyman that kind of exists, represents an actual audience of people that does exist. And then basically says, my congregation, if you are one of these people, we have crosses ready. Get your own bring your own nails, and hang yourself on that cross. It's like
your method doesn't match your tools. There, what? I'm sorry.
I I'm so like it's just this part of the video is like you could hear him like yelling angrily at these people that he wants to get to join him, but like is calling them evil and telling them they should fuck off and watch something else. Because if I heard this man say, watch something else, my response is, I'll watch another video. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me out.
No, I really hate to watch some like on like depending on like. Look, if people only like shonen stuff, they're free to only watch shonen stuff. Like, you know, they're wrong to like throw things they don't watch under the bus, or like you can like enjoy things without having to dislike other things. Like that's a running problem. But like this video is part of that problem when it's trying not to be, basically, by, you know, throwing things under the bus. I think I had something else to say, but it's gone now.
It's funny. It keeps going. Like, he just continue.
Oh, and I remember what I had to say.
Here's the point now where, like, the beginning of this video is like, I'm here to make a proclamation. Halfway through, he's giving his sermon, you know, and then, like, right about here is where he pulls out the rocks and says, "Congregation, stone them. Stone them for their wrong ways." And it's kind of like, yikes, dude. What was it?
These are the people you're trying to convince them. And the other point is, like, I'm realizing is, like, this, because this ties into, like, saying things to appear smart, and, like, I like good shows, like good genres, like slice of life. It's fine if you like other genres, but you're wrong. It just comes across as very elitist to me. I don't know if that vibe comes across.
For people like me who have spent countless hours analyzing and appreciating art.
You can't just say that. But no, like, you've watched more of this content. Would you say, does he come across as elitist, or is he just saying things that happen to be elitist? Or do you know? His older
content, if you listen to him, maybe I have to rewatch it. From what I remember, his older content was literally just in line with, like, maybe what I do, where I go, look at this show I really love. Yeah, right. I'm gonna make you cry, and it's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I just really don't like elitism, because I think, you know, it is, you know, like, it's like patting ourselves on the back, but I do think, like, some of the best, like, points and, like, things it being said, it comes from us. Like, I usually end up pretty disappointed watching other people's content, and, like, couldn't you have read a little bit more into that, you know? Like, but, and because of that, like Precure a la mode, I did a video on it because, like, what the ending did and, like, how it got across some of this stuff, like, stunned me. And then I watched I Got 2 Stars, and I thought, wow, this symbolism is really, like, interesting. And how is it, this is such a, like, well thought out symbol that happens to factor into so many things in this conflict. Like, these are shows meant for, like, literal children. And so, like, because of, like, seeing that, like, I don't want to, like, automatically assume that anything is bad. I want to play defense for it. Like, what's happened, like, last night when we were talking about, me and Vindy were talking about Kimetsu no Yaiba, is, like, you know, maybe I misrepresented your stance, but it's like, what got me more interested in Kimetsu was not like, oh, the ending sucks, it's terrible, you should read it. It's like, well, maybe the ending actually does have value, and I should like, I don't want to go into things because they're bad. I want to go into things because they're good. And if something I feel like needs defending, I'd rather defend it. Like, even if it's fucking Fairy Tail, which I think is fine. But like, it has legitimate. Here, you know what? Are you gonna make a video about Fairy Tail and then, like, you know, tell me if I don't like Fairy Tail, I should shut the fuck up and watch something else? Yeah, just replace this. Do the same segment, but replace Goblin Slayer with Fairy Tail. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But no, so it's like people spend so much time shitting on art, like art that can't really defend itself, mind. So it's like, why not try and see what's good about it, you know? Like, there's way to, and even if you don't like it, there's ways to fairly talk about it if you don't like it. I just don't. That's kind of what I want to do, like, especially with the positive stuff, because I don't see that anywhere else, or not as much, because shitting on stuff is so popular and common. Like, that's how it got big, was the Fairy Tail tirade. Me giving this really bad faith reading of a series that I was not respecting or even managing to appreciate on any level, when at the end of the day, it's flawed, but it's fine. Like, it's, you know.
For my review Starlight video, I remember saying that the reason why it makes me upset is not for is like more so than anything else, is that it has so much good that it should be doing, but it's not, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think that was my stance. Even when I make things about, like, when I say things are bad, I don't necessarily, it's like, it's sort of like, the thing did good things and it has good things. It's just that I just don't, the things that it does bad overshadow those things, personally, to me. Like, and
we're all pretty careful about talking, like, distinguishing the difference between, like, personal preference and when we seriously think the work in question is flawed or there's a major issue with it, you know?
Yeah. It's, I think I told you that I'm tempted to make an entire series of videos where I take shows that I despise And then just to show that like you can like you can that like you should be able to analyze anything even if you don't like it and recognize that there's things in it.
Yeah, like, and I'll agree that it's definitely harder. Like when when watching something I don't think is good, my brain just kind of doesn't focus as much. So I'm not going to be able to like, I'm not going to make a video like on a 4 out of 10 as easily as I would a video on like an 8 or 9, just because I have less to say about it because I'm not as interested in it, even if it's not like bad. But yeah.
I can tell you what Anohana's about.
Yeah, and
fucking me Anohana's good.
There's probably we could probably do a video about it if we felt like it. We just don't feel like it because it's like people. I'd rather people who like it would probably be better suited to talk about it. And if they talk about it badly, then that's worth talking about too. Like that's part of why this series exists is so we can talk about bad points and explain why they're bad and hopefully further some kind of discussion. So like we've gone on a lot of tangents though. So if you start trimming stuff out, I don't blame you.
TLDR, you'll never see me make a video on Anohana and then go, if you like Anohana, kill yourself. Fuck out of this video. Like you would never hear me say that. And it's just we're saying this because it just sort of gets worse. He sort of continues down. We're like Craftsdwarf said, we're in free fall, and now we got a jetpack shoving us down, right?
All right.
Yes, Cute Girls anime occasionally suffers from a heavy male gaze. You remember that fine line I mentioned earlier. You'll find nothing of the sort here. Hida Sketch does not turn its characters into objects of sexual desire. Hell, it spends half an episode in a bathhouse with its characters straight up naked, but it doesn't once feel erotic or sexualized in any way.
Okay. Go ahead.
There it is.
The
meme. The legend.
There is no male gaze in this show where one of the first shots of an episode is Yuno's scrumptious ass. Like,
or as Yoshinoya would describe it, her nice tight butt.
Craftsdwarf, do you have that picture from the mangaka for Hidamari Sketch herself? The horniest person on planet Earth.
Right. So, like, well, for one, I think it's weird to say, like, oh, it doesn't turn their characters into objects. Characters, fundamentally speaking, are literary objects. Like, they're, like, that's what a character is, an object. So, like, the objectification that's a thing not meant to be aimed at art, but it's been appropriated for people to talk down to fan service and edgy stuff and sexualization in general, which is something I'm very much a proponent for reasons as I will talk about with this image. So let me point out let me find some screen caps from Hidamari Sketch to start
Vindy just posted one, by the way.
Yeah, so there's Yuno's butt. Then in literally also episode 2 there was this one where the camera zooms in onto her chest as she's hugging a teddy bear.
God, Ume-sensei's face.
Her breasts are probably twice as big as they normally are, so that it can emphasize their squish as they go against the bear. There's constant zoom-ins on the especially Yoshinoya. Also, this scene with Miyako.
Craftsdwarf, did you know that Fire Force is feminist and doesn't have a male gaze?
Whoa, news to me. Then there's panning shots, there's one in season, this is all from season, most of what we're discussing is in season 1. This is material that he's shown in his video, and no, we're not talking about there's sexualization. No, this is the camera zooming in on these characters sexually, and it's when it's not is it necessary to show his boobs rubbing up against a teddy bear? Probably not, but it is.
Look at these two you posted, right? It's specifically drawn, the shading drawn to emphasize the stretch of the fabric on her ass and tits. If that's not male gaze.
Right. Well, see, and that's the other thing about it is and here's my issue with I believe the person who coined the term disagrees with what's been used for since because it's become this kind of chimera monster of a term that kind of means nothing. And part of the reason I'd say argue to mean nothing is because are you going to say that there's no male gaze in the show because there's no males to match the camera's perspective to? But who are you talking? Do the creators matter? And if so, I believe most of the staff for this show is male, but the author of the manga is female. And if you look at the image, I love this image. Don't get me wrong. Ume Sensei is a degenerate.
So
like,
let me read some excerpts from this.
try and read some
from this
different
lovely-
ones.
All right, hold on. So, without any delay, here's fetish number 4: bra and jeans. If there's something I like about it, it's how her tummy shows between them. For some reason, with bra plus jeans, the waist looks around 15 times, my estimate, slimmer. I love it.
Or about there's one in the top left where she's like, "Oh man, I love like black tights. Also love it in the summer when girls show lots of skin." Like there's one I'm pretty sure where she's
Shibiko-chan's tiny little butt is so nice. The pain from putting Shibiko-chan on my lap and having her bony butt on my legs would be nice too. The way she's so tiny and thin is so cute. This is the person who wrote this manga.
Yeah, she very clearly loves girls. And so basically, like, this anime, if this claim were correct, and Hidamari Sketch did not have male gaze that looks lewdly at its characters, which it definitely does, then that would be like against the author's like preferences. As you know, I don't know if she's just straight like flat gay or just bi. I don't know if she, maybe she's married. I have no idea. But she likes girls. She likes high school girls. That's probably
Very
why
much.
like she has this long running series about high school girls.
Scarily so.
And that's part of the reason I have with the issue of like how a lot of these kind of like progressives, as he calls them, kind of like are really interested in like stopping and stemming the sexuality of women, in part, they argue that it's to protect women, but at the end of the day, women are more marginalized, so they're going to suffer more from restrictions placed, especially in this case where we're talking about like gay women or or bi, where it's just like, again, that's even more marginalized than just women. Restricting like sexuality is only going to restrict like especially when like Japan has like a thriving like porn market, and like roughly half of the people in like doujin are women. Clamp got their start like this major as like doing doujins. Like Fujo, like and there's Fujoshi stuff too to consider. Like there's lots of sexual stuff that just like the West is completely like it's alien to them, because in the West like there's so much more reservation around it. So it's like. So not only is like saying there's no male gaze in Hidamari Sketch like completely and utterly wrong, using it as a point of criticism is stifling to the people like it's aiming to like help, basically. Because like I think we talked about before, and like the origin of it was to sort of like critique film is a patriarchal industry. It's mostly been men for its history. It's still very male dominated. So it's like critiquing like the lens is just naturally like. Yeah. Looks towards the sexual element of women, and that's like sure, but are you going to? But now you're appropriating that in a way that like would like again is basically critiquing a woman creator indirectly. Like this isn't her anime, and but like again, this is fitting to what she would want.
You also have to realize that like UTS also likes Monogatari and mentions the influence from Akiyuki, Shinbo, and Shaft. And almost every single Shaft work I've seen is super horny.
Madoka isn't. That's probably the only one, actually.
Well,
it's still got mommy's tits, but that's like it's not nearly like okay. I don't think it's like on like this level. Like obviously Monogatari is even hornier.
But what I mean is that like it's just kind of like there's a certain level of like lack of self-awareness happening with this claim, because you also notice that he has when he mentioned the bath scene, he has cut out every single scene where the male gaze is super prominent in the bath scene.
Or even, and of course, just limiting this season 1, there's
he is ignoring that Yoshinoya Sensei is a character.
There's a part in I keep coming up with examples from later in the show where it's so obvious that she grabs the camera and pulls it to her assets. Like there's a joke where she's like they have to choose an elective, and she's like, okay, if you want solids, touch my boobs, and if you want flats, touch my ass. Like, and the camera zooms in on those parts as she says that. This is a thing that actually happens in the show. Like, she's a very sexually open character, and the camera, like, she uses the camera in that way. Like, you can't just say, like, oh, she's sexualized, but there's no male gaze. Like, because, like, and, like, again, if you're just gonna say, like, oh, but there's no men, it's female gaze, like, then that's just pointing out how arbitrary and stupid it really is. Because, like, why are you going to say one is fine when the other isn't, when, like, creators of either, or, like, you know, girls can, like, you know, things made by men that sexualize girls because they're gay.
It's also,
you know,
showing
like,
a serious lack of understanding of feminist theory in film from him, because if you knew that, you would understand that feminist theory equates male gaze to any kind of focus on the female body that's sexualized. There's a reason why female gaze isn't a thing, because again, it's referring to the male-dominated industry, but also the way the audiences were mostly dominated by men who would watch these things,
yeah,
and pay money for it to see,
right,
like, and see.
And,
these
like, I
things
think, yeah,
way.
at the end of the day, like, the male gaze is just a really boring and shallow kind of way to look at, like, yeah, if you want to talk about, like, feminist, like, theory, like, yeah, I guess that's the other thing I was going to mention, is the sort of, like, the sex wars and the divide between, like, is porn, like, you know, harmful to women, or is it helpful to women? I'm obviously on the latter side, which is, you know, why I'm pro, like, sexual expression, and in art in particular. But
yeah, it's just dumb. This entire point is just dumb. The jetpack is propelling me towards the ground at high velocity speeds, and I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, and yeah, shows like this are popular with women. I don't know, I don't have any numbers, but like K-On's popular with women. Like, I don't think it... Oh, no, they're still in swimsuits and stuff. I can't think of any explicit, like, major stuff. Like, Love Live is actually pretty popular with girls, and it definitely has, like, shots where just, like, the one... Like, Ellie, for some reason, I'm thinking of that one, where,
yeah.
like, you just see her ass, and she just, like she's, adjusting her swimsuit, you know, and, like, the characters in Love Live are pretty... Yeah, they're pretty sexualized. Like, they have... Especially, like, there's lots of focus on the thighs and the skirts and...
Hello, sir.
Fishnets.
So most of the Seiyu for Love Live, and Aqua especially, are otaku.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they release a new figure, like, so the Yo figure where she's in her swimsuit and her ass is really prominent, right? They picked it up, and there's a clip of Arisha and Anya just staring right at it like, right?
Nice. They're basically going like, nice. So it's like, yeah. So again, that's what why I think it's really important to recognize the bi and lesbian sides of the audience, or just, you know, where in regards to talking about sexuality, because, like,
there's interviews from people like Kana Hanazawa.
Why would he's not, I don't think, like, again, he considers himself progressive. He would UTS would not want to erase these, like, be complicit in bi or gay erasure, but that's what he's doing here, and I really don't like that.
That's not even really the main problem. The main problem is really just that this man watched Hidamari Sketch, closed his eyes.
Yeah, he closed his eyes half the time. Yeah,
every time Yoshinori Sensei was on screen, despite saying that her voice acting in the series was some of the best. So
yeah, that's why he likes the voice acting so much, because he was closing his eyes so he could only hear her.
Oh my god.
Alright, let's keep going.
Yeah, God, I can't. It's almost over.
In general, Cute Girls anime has a reputation as lolicon bait, and while you certainly can find plenty of that, the style I'm talking about is more often some of the most progressive anime out there. Look no further than kids shows like Pre-Para or Precure, recent anime like Yudu Camp, and even a place further than the universe, though I wouldn't classify it in this genre.
So, hold on. Good sir, compatriot, Jackson, my lovely friend. Did you say that so slice of life could go through cute things is lolicon bait to some people? I mean, like, some people do believe that, but Hidamari Sketch is a show where Yoshinori Sensei is a character, and every other shot is of her and her huge ass tits and her huge ass.
Oh, and she sexually harasses her students all the time. Like,
yeah.
it's a running joke in the story where she's, like, purposely, like she's I'll pose nude to model if you want, or she'll say lewd things.
Mio in K-On, for example, one of the only shots that's really sexualized in K-On is a pan up of Mio's hot body with her voluptuous figure. I don't know about you, and I'm not speaking from experience because I don't know what a lolly is. But there's not, like, even for like shows like New Game, where Hifumi's one of the most popular characters, and her prominent figures are her ass and her tits. I mean, maybe if you've seen like no slice of life anime, you would think that it's lolicon bait. And again, these complaints I've seen maybe like 5 times in my entire life from people who don't watch slice of life anime. But then he mentions the progressive aspect. One of the shows he mentions, one of the shows that he talks about is New Game. New Game, also a show that's super horny, because like one of the scenes in the show is 2 girls in their underwear laying on the ground.
Yeah, I was about to say there's the one oh wait, keep going. I didn't watch the whole show.
I'm gonna move on. So
I didn't hear. God damn it! I won't be. Fuck. Give me your audio so I can hear what the fuck you said.
but basically, yeah, dude. I'm not sure, because like if his argument is is progressive, right? He shows Zombieland Saga on screen because it has Lily, who's debated to be a transgender character. It's also Zombieland Saga where like one of the characters is a prostitute. So like,
well, yeah, and that is, you know, that's like obviously on the pro-sex side of where so far he's been pretty anti-sex. So that's interesting to consider. I haven't seen the show. What I was gonna mention about the lolicon bait, like judging from Monogatari, is obviously not into the lolicon thing, but again, like, okay, you have to remember Japanese, you know, on average are like, you know, like I think the average height for a Japanese girl is like 5'2". You know, relatively speaking, they're small.
All you gotta do is look at Aqua, and we're like 5 out of the 9 members are under 5'1", or 5'1" or under.
Yeah, and so a lot of people really like they forget that, yeah, like you know, if Japanese people are going to be looking for their body types, or even just like not even just Japanese people, like petite girls exist, and they're going to connect closer to loli type, like those kind of bodies than like the ones with like big tits and ass. And also, yeah, girls can be lolicons too. The perhaps infamous example I can think of is the virtual YouTuber Natsuhiro Matsuri, who is she's a degenerate. There's literally a video of her and another VTuber, Hoshino Marin, trading idol dojins, or not idol. Why did I say idols? You're corrupting me. Loli dojins, like. And she's like, they were just like the names of them and discussing them like very openly, because like VTubers are kind of, yeah, they're also like Hololive is like described as like an idol VTuber agency. So it's like, yeah, they sing, and also, you know, they're otaku, kind of like you said, like, yeah, all the Love Life girls are basically otaku because, like, of course, you know, they're super into that kind of thing, anime and stuff. So like, yeah, and there's several of the Hololive VTubers who are into the Arrow game side of things. Or arrows and dojins and H manga, and again, so yeah, like, and some of them are interested in loli stuff. So again, it's like, if you're going, you can't just assume like the sexual stuff is only like a male thing. Like, you know, and yeah, you could say like, oh, the male there's a lot of male control in the porn industry in the West, but Japan is different, and you have to recognize that. So, but I'm just saying the same things again. So,
Or take K-On, an unmistakably feminist work. I don't just say that because it stars a group of female characters. The show details the meaningful relationships between them, how they empower one another, and celebrates their femininity. On top of that, its female voice is clear. A majority of the production staff were women, most notably Naoko Yamada the director, Yukiko Horiguchi the character designer, and Reiko Yoshida on series composition. All of which makes these alt-right loons with MAGA hat K-On AVIs on Twitter incredibly ironic.
there it is.
So another thing, he mentions K-On Naoki Yamada. There's some like crazy lewd shit that happens in like some
you can't talk about female creators while downplaying the sexual aspects of the things they create. And like if you're gonna talk about empowerment, then why not talk about sexual empowerment?
Isn't
Like the anti-sex thing he has just does not work with the rest of what he's saying. I think it's like, and that's I hadn't thought about how much that bothered me before, but like watching the video again, it really bothers me.
Doesn't the opening of K-On pan up Mio's body as her like clothes are real tight on her tits?
And even that bit of the ending there had like, oh, she's pretty detailed shoulders. She doesn't appear to be wearing clothes. Like, you know, like the ending in particular is pretty like, you know, like it's sexual in a sense, like not like without showing like sex or anything or even body parts like that, but it's still like there's a lewdness to it, you know.
Euphonium has girls like touching each other's lips and shit, and like an entire like beach episode, like entire pool episode.
Yeah.
Where they're all
like
showing
now
off
I'm
their
thinking of like
swimsuits.
there's shots in even Hidamari Sketch where like the lips are super detailed, like it's, you know, like zooming in, like there's sexuality in them that you can't just ignore.
It doesn't exist. If I close my eyes, it's gone. La 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 la.
And then of course there's the MAGA hat thing where it's like people who disagree with me are, you know, again painting this image of the people he's trying to convince, which I don't understand. Like in this case, it's less so that.
Let's be fair, Craftsdwarf. The people who he was trying to reach out to left the moment he said watch something else. So like that was what, like 2 minutes ago?
Right.
They're gone.
So, and yeah, like as someone who makes like content trying to convince people of my point, you know, like framing your audience as the villain is just not a good look, and it's not helpful to anyone. Like it makes you look worse. It makes your side look worse. It doesn't convince people on the opposite side. Congratulations.
Mind if I toot my own horn real quick?
Go for it.
So I am Mr. Love Live. I do like Love Live quite a bit. However, I have talked to a lot of people who haven't watched Love Live. However, if you look in the comments of my Love Live videos, you'll notice that there are quite a few individuals who say, I have never seen this show, but you making this video made me want to. And there's a reason for that. When I make my Love Live videos, I make them for the sake of realizing that, like, okay, logical arguments aren't really gonna, like, me trying to, like, reason out why the show is good isn't gonna work. Because people already have preconceived notions in their heads. What's gonna work is me just explaining, like showing why I love it so much. Another video that is like it's just kind of like if I started my video saying like, now you MAGA wearing losers with your veiny foreheads might not like Love Live, but I do. So you should agree with me. It's fine if you don't, but you should agree with me. Like, it's sort of like this weird slippery slope this man is living on. And it's just, he wants people to come join him on the mountain, but is already throwing rocks down at people saying, get off my mountain. It's like...
Right, like the best way you can convince him is just like, explain it. Like with my Sasuke video, I didn't say like, you know, if you don't understand Sasuke, you're stupid. I say like, well, yeah, you're not really supposed to like him, but maybe we could understand him through like, yeah, he's a kid. Like, let's think about that and understand him. Like, and that's my most popular video. So like the like ratio is still pretty real, like good. So I'd argue that I did a pretty good job of convincing people like Vindy, Nuxtaku, people who like hated Sasuke, and now they're like, well, even if I don't like him, maybe he's a good character. You know, he's a good character. I can recognize that. Like I respect that. Again, this video can't convince us of things we already agree on. That's the issue with this video. The fundamental issue with this video.
If that's not enough, the same team also made Tamako Market. But this isn't a K-On video. We're here for Hidamari Sketch, another woman-made property and original mangaka, Ume Aoki. It encompasses exactly what makes this genre so warm and endearing to me. It's genuinely therapeutic, the perfect dose of happy when real-life bullshit weighs me down. Nothing lifts me back up like an episode of a Hidamari sketch. I'm sure my perspective here will be met with backlash from multiple sides. Cute girls anime can be a real flashpoint for people, but Hida Sketch illuminates what I come to the genre for. Ultimately, it's not the universally fetishy anti-women schlock I've seen fellow progressives label it as, nor the death knell to manime prophesized by the toxic masculinity brigade. You just have to know where to look. When handled properly, It's cute, not objectifying. Mundane, not boring. Empathetic, not alien. It's...
はい、もう食べちゃダメ。
Hey, Craftsdwarf.
Me crafts.
You gotta know where to look. You know where I know where to look? Right at Yuno's tits and ass. That's where I know to look.
Right. He mentions the author that she's a female. Right. Well, like, there's also the part where it's like, you know who's dismissed this anime? My fellow progressives. And also people with lots of toxic masculinity. Like, I guess, yeah, if you want to talk, like, ideologically, I identify more with progressives. Like, you know, we meme a lot on the Weeb Club, but, like, you know, a good friend of mine is transgender, MathWiz. You know, I talk a lot about, like, you know, prosexuality and how I think, like, that's better for women. Like, we talked about that a lot on the video. I wish I could have, like, I need to be, like, I'd love to make videos on just straight up fucking H dojins, but that's a different timeline where I have less shame. But, so it's like so I identify, like, I identify with, you know, basically everything UTS says except for the anti-sexuality stuff, which I do, you know, completely disagree with. And so, like...
Hey, Craftsdwarf.
But, like, what's up?
So you know how UTS here is bothered by the sexuality things in Monogatari, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also he mentions the female creator, right? The Araragi sisters are cute this time. So cute, so cute, so cute, so cute. I just want to feast on them. Platinum Disco is, you know, the way Tsukiji-chan opens her mouth wide before falling is just too cute. Drawing these two was fun. Let me brush your teeth.
She didn't create Monogatari. She just drew fan art of them apparently and
No.
them.
What I'm saying is,
yeah,
it's
no,
the two
I
things.
know.
I'm like, the universe is converging on itself. Here we have the two things he fears the most being said by the female creator that he's saying is progressive, and I'm like...
Yeah, you're right, yeah, like, yeah, Hidamari Sketch is feminist because it was made by a woman. Said woman is also super fucking horny for the show that has bad sexuality, and you should feel bad for liking it. Monogatari, which I like it, or because he says he likes it, but, not for the sexual parts. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I think we've said enough, honestly, because, yeah, the video just, it argues a point. And, oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, actually, is because he's like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'd call Sorayori a cute girls anime, but he has it in the big montage of cute girls anime at the start of the video, which goes into, like...
soar over our heads this time? That was crazy.
Yeah, so, like, which, goes back to the definition thing, where it's like, you know, I'm already not sure about some things regarding definition, and that throws what he's said about definitions, like, well, now I don't know if you know anything about the definitions between all these different, like, Nichijou-kei and shit, because, like, you don't even know what Sorayori is classified as, because he's not... He says, like, I'm not sure if I'd classify, but then he also has it, like... So, you know...
Well, that honestly just goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the, you know, him, like, making this video trying to do, like, to serve two masters, but ultimately not really serving any of them. Kind of confused. Like, making this video for people who already don't agree with him, but also filling it with things that would raise an eyebrow of somebody who does know what he's talking about. So he's just not pleasing anybody in his attempts to please somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, the only people who this would please are people who, like, 100% agree with him and aren't concerned about being convinced or how convinced, because, like, I think that's why we don't, because we make videos that are trying to be, like, argumentative but convincing, and so we know what not to do. And so when we see people do what you're not supposed to do, that sets off red flags for us. Because, like, yeah, we don't identify... Like, oh, that's a whole other point I was going to bring up with the MAGA hat thing. Is, like, you know what... You want to know what website I was browsing when I got into Slice Life Anime hard? 4chan. A site that's infamously conservative, especially... Like, not... Obviously, it's, like... You know, there's a lot of different people on there who run the whole... Like, there's an LGBT board and... And the infamous poll board. But on the anime and manga board, like, there's people, they were liking, like, I got into Hidamari Sketch because there were people who liked Hidamari Sketch back in 2012. So this predates, like, Digi's video, where, like, all these, like, Twitter, with YouTube, these kind of spaces were like, fuck cute girls things. 4chan was like, fuck yeah, cute girls. Like, of course, there were people on there who didn't like it, but like Yushiki was a show that aired in like 2012 or 2013, and it had general threads going. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're still fucking going on 4chan's A board of people who just like really attach themselves to this one cute girl show that most everyone else kind of fucking forgot. And like, so it's like the picture he paints of people who disagree with him is just inaccurate, because like you said, like that's what you're trying to get at the start, is that the people who don't like slice of life things are generally like shonen meatheads or the Greek who shall not be named.
The Greek.
And where like, because if you're looking at the picture he paints, like, okay, yeah, 4chan, they love cute girls shit. So they're also conservatives. So who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, we like slice of life. We're conservative. We exist. No, so like he has that line earlier where he's like, makes those MAGA hat wearing Yui avatars really ironic. Do you want to know where those came from? Probably 4chan.
Probably.
Where,
they literally do start like memes and shit too, like the okay hand thing where it's like, this is an alt-right symbol. Like they literally started that to try and fuck with people who are like pro censorship and super anti like conservative, basically. Like they'll literally just do shit like that. So it's like, yeah, of course, yeah, they'll put it's so.
It's honestly
all right. I'm done.
Else.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's really not much else to say, because you're just kind of like, really the biggest problem is just the man didn't watch the show.
Right. He didn't watch the show, and argued what he wanted to argue really badly, and that's a shame, because like that's why I watched the video in the first place, is because like this is a video on my favorite anime, my single favorite anime, and like it sucks. That's a shame. Like, I wish it didn't. Like, I wouldn't want an anime like if this video turned people away from watching Hidamari Sketch when they might have loved it, that's horrible. But this video sucks, so if that happened, I wouldn't blame the person who was turned away at all. You know, the best I can hope for is that maybe they'll watch my video, and where I don't talk about anyone, I just talk about, here's the show, here's the theme, you know, here's a bunch of spoilers, whatever. Maybe that will get people interested. It did. I think there's someone on my server who now has it as one of their favorite anime because they at least knew I made the video. I don't know if they watched it first, but like, because I made that video, people watched it. And at least a couple people watched it and liked the show, you know? And, you know, maybe that video didn't get a lot of reach. Like, this one has a fair amount of views.
It's also got quite the ratio. And
no, yeah, the ratio is bad, and I 100% don't think it's because of, like, MAGA hat Trump voters who found this video
really
and voted down.
So,
I think it's people who probably agree, but just don't like how the video was argued or presented at all. Like, I hope, at least, or, you know, because that's where I am.
So there's a video, so, I mean, there's comments in here. Like, there's one here by Marissa Nya that says, as someone who's watched cute girl anime since Lucky Star and is a feminist, even after this video, I fail to understand why the sense of normalcy girls having cute girl anime is feminist. The audience still kind of treats the characters on a pedestal, and it's hardly conducive to how real life is most of the time. In short, it's still the same old escapism, which is hardly feminist. Like, even people, like, don't agree with him on the feminist point. They're all sort of disagreeing that he's inserting his own, like, politics into the show where it's really not, like, I'm not sure if I don't know if I agree with Marissa Nya, but that's just one person who's just, like, there's a lot of these
I'd
comments.
argue, they're good female characters, like, they have femininity, like, you know, they don't fall into, like, the Western, like, feminist quote unquote tropes where it's like, you know, a strong female character, but it's just a man with tits, like, stuff. Obviously they don't, but just because Japan's culture is, like, and media culture has, like, allowed for more female creators. Like, yeah, there's still some, like, patriarchal things to, like, Shonen Jump has had 0 female editors in its entire lifetime, even though it's had series like Haikyuu or Bleach or Rurouni Kenshin who have these huge female audiences, you know? And obviously it's just a very, like, popular magazine in general. So it's like, yeah, there's still things like that. Like, yeah, shoujo magazines and josei still have, like, large, you know, male bases in the editors, but it's like, you know, yeah, there's still a, like, huge amount of, like, you know, shoujo manga. Like, there's still shonen manga drawn by women. Ichigo 1%. It sucks, but it was done by a woman. And
No
yeah,
male gaze and there's no male gaze in K-On 100%.
Right. That yeah. Oh boy. So it's like yeah. It's just this video. I think like. And one of the issues I find with like the people who talk about like the progressive aspect, which again is a point I agree with like largely, is that like they're coming at it from such a Western lens that they're not looking at the culture for what it is and how it's different, and which staggers the reading, I think, and this is a good example of that so yeah.
Yeah. Basically, if you make a video about with sort of like argumentative things, don't insult your audience. Don't insult people who you're trying to reach out to. And even if you do include politics, try to be like accurate in your political stances, I guess. And see if what you're talking about adheres to that, right?
Yeah, there's ways that this very much could have been better, and like unlike like this one, you know, I don't know if UTS is gonna watch this, because you know bigger YouTubers get so much criticism that it's like, and this is like what gonna be an hour plus video, so but I don't know. I'd like to see things that argue these points, but well, so you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm done.
Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Again, if you have a video you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments below, right? And maybe if you patron us, that'll give you a higher chance of like us watching something.
Yeah, give us money, you know? So we can watch your stuff that you're
give us money so we can suffer. Yeah. And remember, the Weeb Club has no male gaze. Because, well, actually, there are a bunch of dudes. I've seen our analytics. Nobody but dudes watches this channel. There's nothing but male gaze in this channel. All right. See you guys.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.